So this morning I had a full-blown conscious OBE. I was doing the techniques, and um, instead of falling asleep, there was no astral wind like yesterday. I literally just began materializing in this environment, and the environment that I was materialized in was similar to the shopping center that I was in that I was at yesterday. Uh, Most of the people there were younger in this area of the shopping center or wherever I was. At first, I wasn't quite sure whether or not it was a lucid dream or an OB, so I ended up in this area with a whole lot of other people, and I brought more awareness. No one froze. It just it felt like a full blown conscious OBE. So then I began walking around saying, am I dreaming? Where am I? Are you conscious? They began laughing at me and saying, yes, we're conscious. No, you're not dreaming. And so as I brought more awareness to my consciousness, to my conscious self in this location, I eventually realized that, yeah, I was in some sort of a consensual reality, and it wasn't a lucid dream. Yeah, and sometimes when I bring greater awareness to myself in the lucid dream state, I can tell it's a lucid dream because one of several things might happen. All the dream characters might just disappear. They might freeze. They might begin acting strangely, or the astral wind takes over and turns the lucid dream into an OBE. I've had all those things happen before, and so none of those things happened this time. It definitely felt like an OBE, and then I began interacting with the characters, with the people in this area, in this mall sort of shopping center, a different area of the shopping center than I was in yesterday. And it really seemed like they were, conscious beings. Now, I was having difficulties remaining in the location. I kept returning to my body, and I'd return to my body. I'd feel my butt, this happened again. Very shortly after I arrived, I returned to my body, and I basically felt my body entirely here. And then I continued doing breathing exercises, sort of visualizing myself back at the location. Maybe it took 30 seconds. Generally, I'm back in my physical body, and 5-10 seconds later, I'm then back in the astral or wherever I am. But this time, each time I returned to my body, it was like I was here for 60 seconds, and then I returned. So, the experience was I ended up in this shopping center. I began talking to people and walking around. I had I had many different kind of experiences during this time. So, uh, one of them was because I was out for, I was gone for probably well over an hour. Again, well over an hour or more. Again, continuously returning to my body, multiple times, and then exiting my body again, remaining perfectly still. As I was walking around the shopping center, I had many different experiences. I entered a dining room, not the cafeteria that I was in yesterday, but an actual dining room. And so I walked over and was going to see the waiter, and then I'm like, well, there's somebody sitting over there, and there was only one person in this dining room, this nice dining room, and she was sitting at a table, and I was thinking, well, I don't really need them to serve me. I wonder if I can just begin materializing food myself. So I looked at my hand and began materializing cream. And so then this dish with cream, it was like some sort of creamy dessert or something appeared on it. It was weird, I don't quite know. It was like I was thinking of like a dessert, creamy dessert, and it appeared. And so I walked over and set it down, and then began chatting with with the lady and said, did you want something else? Maybe we could. So then I materialized some popcorn, and then I materialized foie gras. Uh, and she's like, "Oh, this is great," and we began like eating. But she then said, "I have to go. Maybe we could schedule a meet up later." And shortly after she said that, I was back in my body, and I was back in my body maybe for, I don't know, 20 minutes. So I guess that wasn't going to happen. So I was back in my body for about 20 minutes, and I kept doing the breathing, relaxing, and then I ended up out of my body again in the shopping center. This is the first time that I've come back to my body and been back in my body so long, and then been able to return to the location to which I was having the experience previously. So this happened multiple times this morning. Let's see, one other experience was I entered a candy store, and I then tried to materialize candy and couldn't do it at that point in time. Then I candy for this kid. This kid and I sat down together on the floor of the candy store and tried to materialize candy. I couldn't do it. I don't know. This was shortly after return. This was like one of the first places I returned to after being back in my body for about 10 to 20 minutes. Where else did I go? Yeah, I mean, I played some sort of a weird. I ended up back in the shopping center and was playing some sort of a very weird, strange arcade game, like flying and shooting. That was all around. It was just a very strange experience. Like, I didn't learn much. I mean, it was enjoyable. I got to interact with a lot of people, but nothing. Nothing too profound. I did have a goal, but for this morning session, but I didn't accomplish my goal. When you get out of your body, and everything's so strange and new, you sometimes forget your goal, and that's kind of what I did today. So I ended up kind of, in many different locations. I was, yeah, I don't know. It was very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. It's hard to estimate. Time flows differently when you're in the astral or out of body state. And it flows differently even depending upon which dimension you're in. But each time I was out of my body, and then each time I returned to my body and then left my body, I'd enter a different environment. It seemed like the same location, but a different part of this same location. Yeah, it was this astral sort of park-like shopping center. Park in terms of not a whole lot of greenery, but just park in terms of a wide variety of activities, like an activity park. My awareness during this session was quite high. When I was eating food in the dining room, it felt like I was really eating what I was creating. Maybe it was 80% of my awareness in the physical, not more than the physical. I wasn't hyper aware, having a greater awareness than the physical, but I'd say it was about 80%. Yeah, I mean, nothing was dark. I could make out the environment around me. It was an enjoyable location. They did use, it seemed like in some areas there was the expectation, some of the shopping locations, there was the expectation of some sort of exchange, but I'm not sure. Yeah, on the whole, it was an interesting experience.